everyone, welcome to the Movie Section Show. I am Fariba, and we're just about to watch the second episode of Andor. It's going to be quite the night that we're going to go through because we still have one more episode even after this. But as I mentioned in my first reaction video for Andor, I kind of like a bit of the atmosphere so far that we're getting from this episode, from this whole series so far. The first episode, again, wasn't really, action-based. It was very dialogue-heavy, which I felt like was very, very necessary to kind of set up the exposition, to kind of give us an idea of who the characters are, and even, give us details of who Cassian Andor is in this period. Because, again, the Cassian that we first were, exposed to in Rogue One was a bit more of a respected, obedient officer who, was a bit more restrained. Whereas here it's like we see a bit more of a, scoundrel, someone who has a lot of debt, someone, isn't as, thinking things 2 steps forward. He isn't as careful, has a lot of, as what we initially imagined him to be, right? And as I mentioned before in the previous video, that it seems like the main arc of the story is going to be him finding his sister. So that is probably going to be kind of his journey for this series, and who knows, maybe that's what kind of Diego Luna was alluding to in terms of this being his last time as Andor. So does that mean that we're going to see his sister take over for the second season? I don't know yet. We obviously haven't seen who his sister is, so that's going to be an interesting bet to see. But again, I already so far just kind of like the way things have been setting up. Things are moving on really great. It looks like it's going to be a true, pure storytelling that isn't going to, go off in a tangent in the worst way possible, or digress in a whole different direction, Boba Fett. And so hopefully, again, I think this series has a lot of potential. I think this is, again, what I said in the last episode or last reaction video. This is going to, the way that Rogue One was to Star Wars, the trilogy, it seems like Andor is going to be kind of the one saving grace in a way of the Disney Plus series, aside from The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's a whole different, level of things, and that's just because it is The Mandalorian. But in this case, it looks like Andor is going to kind of do the same thing that Rogue One has done. But yeah, no, I mean, but it's too soon to make that statement, right? So I'm gonna watch the second episode of Andor, and yeah, let's get started. It's like a mix of the Grand Canyon and Machu Picchu.
Lock up the back, I'll take care of all this.
Thank you.
Yep. What?
I take it can't speak now.
Read it.
Upper Premor Authority is seeking a Canary male resident of Ferrex for questioning. Citizens with any information should contact the Preox Morlana Security HQ without any delay.
Who else knows
About what?
that you were born in Canary?
You don't want to hear what happened.
We'll get to that. But who knows? Who have we told?
I don't know,
We have always said Fest. Every doc I've ever submitted has always said you were born on Fest. Have you ever said anything other than Fest?
Officially, no, I don't think so, but people, yes.
Who?
And so did
Well,
you.
how many?
I don't know, it's not something I've been keeping track of.
Well, everyone I've told is dead.
That's ridiculous. And Jesse, and Sam.
Oh,
Bubba Biggs.
This has nothing to do with
well
it.
then who told these primo bastards about Canary?
Okay, so something is happening in Canary.
Bubba Vix. Vix is looking for you.
What?
Well, why would you do that?
Wait, when did she call? Just now?
Tell me.
The comm failed. Your comms.
V, where is she?
How did that come up? Just forget that. What
She's
do they
still
want
in the
from
yard.
me? What do
V,
they want?
wait! V, where is she?
Took a contact in the shuttle to the calculating Windbrow.
Bastian, what have you done?
I messed up.
Oh, you did.
Two guys jumped me. It went too far.
How far is too far?
They were shaking me down. I wasn't looking for a fight. Listen, forget what I said this morning. I'll tell you the piece. I just need enough to get out of here.
What is this guy doing? Is he really jealous or something?
You called him, right?
He's on his way up.
God.
Getting in each other.
Oh.
Good. Do you want something to drink or?
Okay.
You alright?
I don't know.
Oh, they got the shag. Interesting.
Seen it so. Half measures. Take it slow, the wait and see. It's a plague on discipline. Face your man to yourself the rest of your life, knowing you did less than everything you possibly could. I've been saying all along we need a stronger hand with these affiliated planets. There's fermenting out there, son. Pockets of fermenting. Corporate tactical forces are the Empire's first line of defense, and the best way to keep the blade sharp is to use it. So, thank you, son.
I'm passing on.
Oh wow, that looks expensive. And that looks imperial too, isn't it?
Safe.
Is this the buyer? That looks like the buyer.
Because we don't want someone else to find Marva's credits, do we?
I agree. You should stay.
If I can bring that myself, I will. But if I can't, we need the cop.
Oh. That's his. Okay, yeah. Okay. That's a bit dark.
abandoned and considered toxic imperial prohibition. No, it's not.
Okay, let's split the difference.
You should play.
Your choice. You want to go today and have me keep my mouth shut? 7's my floor.
Okay, if it's 7, you better be ready in an hour. Keep the engine running, please.
Would you let it go?
I love it when people speak gibberish.
Success
First time.
and justice. Best of luck to us all.
All right then, carry on. That was no bargain either. You make the round trip and taste it a week later. Just nasty. Now it's this. What's your line? Rather not say. No need to explain. Who knows who you're talking to these days? Changes, does it? You know what they say? What's that? If you can't find it here, it's not worth finding.
Interesting. Andor, and there isn't really a lot to take in because again it's just more of the exposition, more of the storytelling, more of just kind of giving the background of what's going on. In this case we are getting a bit more new information about who Cassian is, and that is that we learn about this planet called Canary, which apparently that is where Cassian's from, because it sounds like that is his story right there. From the looks of it, it seems as if it's an inhospitable planet now because some sort of fume or something like that something toxic in the air basically killed off the people on that planet, except for, of course, Cassian and his sister from the sounds of it. So, and it also seems like that's probably where he found that, token, that Imperial token that he has, that we see later on in this episode as well. That's probably how he got it. So, and we're probably going to see more of that maybe in the 3rd episode. But yeah, there isn't really too much going on. We kind of just see a lot of things just building up. Now it looks like we're seeing the buyer now, who happens to be played by Stellan Skarsgård. So I think his character name is Luthon. So that's going to be an interesting bit. We haven't seen them, kind of interact yet. We don't know if this deal is going to go through. So that's going to be a big question going into the 3rd episode. But it does seem like Cassian is going to try and leave the planet because he is somewhat of an outlaw at this point, because he is being hunted down. Well, not hunted down, but he is being asked for questions, which is not a really good sign. So there's a lot of things going on from the looks of it. Again, things aren't as, bombastic as people would think it is, but even with that being the case, right, there is a story being told. It's just taking a bit more time to kind of bring it all together. We're seeing his friend Bix again, we don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, I'm going to assume she's going to have a much bigger role moving forward. So far, she hasn't been able to do a lot of things except for, make that deal happen, right? But I'm just going to assume that a lot of things will start transpiring very soon. Again, we're kind of seeing a bit more of Cassian's own story. Again, things that we never anticipated from a character like Cassian, having, met him from Rogue One. And now we're kind of seeing a much different side of him in this series. But yeah, this is going to take a bit more time from the looks of it, which I'm totally okay with, as long as it does build up to a story where it is very cohesive. It really dives deep to the lore of it without without digressing into every other itty bitty thing. It has nothing to do with the actual story. It seems like everything is going to be more cohesive, that it's going to be about Cassian, that Cassian is the main character that we're going to kind of follow journey 4 or journey 2, and hopefully that's going to be the case here. again, the second episode, not a lot of people are gonna like it because it is a, it doesn't really have a lot going on. Again, I know a lot of people are like those types of people who want a lot more of the action, but also it's very nice to kind of have a bit more of the storytelling itself, whether it be the big dialogue or just having a much slower pace. And again, even the pace itself has to make sense, right? So I'm going to hope that hopefully by the time we get to the end of the series, all that's going to be worth it. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the second episode. What do you think? Were you a bit more ecstatic about this episode than most people would probably think? Are there details that you kind of feel like, okay, it's giving a bit more of that Star Wars vibes, or it's kind of its own series? Are you loving this kind of different style that we're seeing from Star Wars, especially for a Disney Plus series? And what are your thoughts about Cassian in general, right? Like, are you a bit shocked to know that this is kind of the Cassian that we know in this series and how we saw him in Rogue One? Do you have questions about the whole situation with Kanari, or like what's going on with that? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.